messaging are being brought to you today because they really apply to you. If you have a business already, then it's really important, and this is a wonderful gift for you because it can be very costly to do messaging, and if you start doing the pre-work yourself, you can really begin to develop the message that's going to help your business. And even if you don't have a business, this is important because these steps that are involved in messaging and the 4 components of it really are going to help you see maybe a little bit of what you have to offer, what you might want to be doing, and something might emerge out of that, whether it's a new lifestyle, a new business, whatever it may be, it's relevant either way. So go ahead and enjoy this information, take notes, get out a pen and paper because we're going to have a little bit of fun, teach you about messaging, identifying some key things that relate to what the Unstoppable family is all about, which is creating freedompreneurs that are living their life on purpose, and perhaps even traveling the world and getting to see some places like this. You've got jet skiers playing in the water. Look at this. Taking off, parasailing right now. That could be you. That is so you. So enjoy. Hello, this is Mandy Love, the magical messaging maven who is a part of the Unstoppable team. And you know, of course I know, and me and my fiance know Brian and Rhonda, because we're out here living life on purpose as we want it, by design, by our choices. And there's a gift that we want to give because, you know, Rhonda is the branding queen and I am the messaging maven, and these things go hand in hand. And whether you have your own business or want to have your own business or any of those things, messaging is still an important part of life that lets us know the messages that we're receiving, the messages that we're giving, and it's a process that's about thinking things through, and this can help us to define the things that we want in our life. And so with today being about the 4 fun facts, you know, what I want people to think about is imagining if your life ended up, you know, being somewhere like this at a fraction of the cost of what it is in the United States or in Europe or in Australia or wherever. And think about your life having magical events where you end up like Rhonda and Brian did in Cusco, Peru at Machu Picchu on the 100th anniversary, or if you end up in Tibetan refuge in little Tibet in the north part of India at the same time, just by chance, that the Dalai Lama is there to speak with the Tibetan people, and you've got thousands of monks and you've got 40,000 Tibetan people, and you get to have that kind of experience in a celebration, sitting in pools in Fiji, bottle feeding monkeys, the list goes on. And it's not about some super expensive or some fantasy life. It's about knowing what you want, who you are, and what you want to do. And messaging is about that also. So in our 4 fun facts today, we're going to talk about 4 fun facts about messaging and why it's important to your life. And even if you don't think you are a business type, you don't want one, you don't have one, it might look a little different than you think that it does. So when we're looking at a message and we're looking at who we're going to connect to and how, a big part of knowing that message is knowing where are the people that we are connecting with at. Because a lot of us limit what we're doing to where we live. So if you live in, you know, if you live in California, we limit it to California. And if you're a little bit more developed in your business, maybe it's to the United States and or a region of the United States. And what I want you to look at is the entire world, and maybe who you are communicating with isn't even where you are. Maybe that opens up doors of where you could be, because a lot of us have this idea that we can only do a business or have a company where we are, and there are many countries around the world where you can easily live, where you can stay for long periods of time, where you can get benefits, where you can open businesses, where those businesses have different structures of how they're ran and operated, and we want you to know what those options are. And so part of thinking about that, obviously you don't want to study the whole world because that would be a full-time gig in and of itself, but you can take a look at where you might be able to explore offering your services and what you have to give to people. So what we want to start with is where you might want to do what you want to do in your life. Now, as we said, some of you may have a business, some of you may not, but if you don't have a business, just start thinking about where you might want to live your life, and then maybe from there it could evolve, well, what could I do there? Because a business doesn't have to be a scary and complicated thing. There's a million and one ways that we can offer service to other human beings, which brings to the next part is who you are. And Rhonda does a wonderful job working with people on this in her branding workshop and in a lot of the other coaching and personal work that she does, so that people can know, we're not going to get too much into who you are in the, metaphysical or deep psychoanalysis realm, because that's not what we're here for, and that's not completely necessary all the time. Who you are is more, what do you enjoy doing? What's important to you? When you remove some of the expectations and things that you have, what are you good at? What are you interested in that maybe you haven't had the time to explore? What's something that maybe you call a hobby or something you used to do that might have value now? Because when we start to put these things together and you look at where it's possible and what you like to do, I'll just give you an example. Let's say that you like to make bracelets and you think, maybe in America, like, okay, how do I make a living making bracelets? But out here traveling, I've met hundreds of people who make a living making bracelets. I've met hundreds of people who go and buy bracelets or jewelry or bags or clothing in somewhere like Southeast Asia, and then they bring them over to South or Central America and they sell them there because they're worth 3 or 4 times more, just because the difference in the tourist market. So there's a lot of different ways that you can offer a service or something that you like once you know who you are, what's important to you, and what you can do. And this is all a part of developing your message, because your message has to allow people to relate to it. It has to have relevance. It has to be received. It has to be retrieved. It has to be repeated. So all of those things that are happening are a part of thinking through the process of your life and your messaging, and knowing who you are, what you're good at, what you want, where you want to do it, helps to start the process of being able to think this through and actually come up with a, I don't want to say a plan, but a vision that you would actually be able to follow and create results with in your life. So the next part of messaging is the people that you are going to be connecting with. So we've talked about where, and now we've got to talk about that type of person. Who's going to be interested? What demographic? What gender? What age group? Who are you communicating with? And then if you want to communicate with a bigger group of people, then we need to get into how you're going to communicate with them. So figuring out who you're going to be communicating with can just take a look at you again and where you want to do it. So what do you believe? And then how are people going to be receiving that? We go back to what we're going to call the 5 R's, which is being able to relate it with the relevance, how it's received, how it's retrieved, and it's repeated. So relating, relevance, receive, retrieve, repeating is what needs to be happening, and we need to literally take a look at why is somebody going to do it, how are they going to do it, and how are we going to communicate that in our message so that all of those things are happening. So the next part goes down into, of course, how do we develop what that message is? How do we begin to uncover some of these answers so that we can have that ability to communicate something effectively and efficiently so that it actually becomes a source of revenue. Not that it's about the revenue, but it's about giving and receiving, giving and receiving, giving and receiving. And that's a natural part of life. We find something that we can give and offer people, and we receive for doing that. We get to have the life that we want. So there's 4 very important steps when it comes to doing your core messaging and taking a look at, okay, like how am I going to communicate this, and who, and like I said, answering the relating, the relevant, if people are going to repeat it, if people are going to retrieve it, and if they're actually going to receive it. Okay, so those are some of the things that we're going to be analyzing as you go through what the different components of core messaging are. Now, for the sake of this free gift, we are going to go over very, very briefly so that we don't have this go on for too long, and because core messaging is a part of the branding workshop. So to go over this more in depth and to really begin to extract and ask different perspectives of questions to these questions, there's other ways that information is available. So the idea of this is to have an understanding, and if you know how to take it far enough, great. And if it's something that that you need a little bit more help with, of course, Ron and Brian, the Unstoppable family, the Unstoppable design team have solutions for you. So the 4 things I want you to think about once you've thought about who you're going to offer to where and who you are to know what you want to offer, because this is getting about a different way of thinking about life, which of course we might want to start with that we want when we're going through this in life. So the 4 things that we want to look at on your message is, what do you say about it? So this thing that you're offering, what do you say about it? And then you want to look at if there's something comparable or another option for people to what you're doing, then what's that other option going to say about you? Then we're going to look at, okay, what do you say about the other option? And then we're going to look at what the other option says about itself. And when you're able to outline those things, you begin to be able to answer questions. And when the answers begin to flow, you get the message of who you are. Some of it's called a tagline, it's a brand. It depends on exactly how and what you're developing. Some people just want to have a guest house somewhere, or maybe you have an internet business right now, maybe it's network marketing, there's a lot of different options, or maybe you're developing products and ebooks, and more of those questions can be answered as to what you want to develop by actually working with somebody one-on-one. This is about the what ifs. What if, what if, what if? What if anything was possible? What if all the obligations, attachments, and everything were gone? What would I see for my life? What do I believe? What do I not believe? Getting into that so that you know about who you are and what you want to offer. Then we're looking at where it can be offered, who it can be offered to, and then how do we define what it is that we're offering so that it relates to people, has relevance, which I know that has to do with relate, but specifically relating and having relevance are slightly different, because when we're specifically relating, we're relating ourselves. Having relevance is relevance to them. So we're relating, having relevance, making sure they receive the message, making sure they actually want to retrieve the message, and then making sure that your message is repeated so that you can get into attraction marketing, which was featured in the gift yesterday. So I hope that this helps you take a look at the possibilities. Since we did promise you 4 fun facts, this is 4 fun facts of how to live a life like this, like Rhonda and Brian's, and Hannah Lay's, like anybody else that you know, like the life you're living right now, except better, more free, more abundant, more peace of mind. Whatever that is that you want, these are the best ways to do it, because really you can live places, you can make businesses, you can do extended travel, it's cheaper than you think, you can see the world, you can even rearrange the way you're living life where you're living it right now by getting those priorities in order, and identifying who you are and what you want to do really helps to prioritize what's actually important and real in your life, so that we're not using resources like time, money, and energy in places that aren't really fulfilling us and allowing us to be of service to others.